Hello everyone, we're back again for another video, and in this video we are going to talk about intercultural communication and the reasons why we should be interculturally competent. And to start with, these are the following objectives that we must achieve. First, define intercultural communication and distinguish the different characteristics of a competent intercultural communicator. Next, appreciate the importance of knowing how to be interculturally competent and be able to apply their learnings in a real-life situation. Lastly, produce their own fictional country and portray their own cultures through a short role-play presentation. Are you ready? If yes, so we're gonna start now. So now, let us define first what is meant by intercultural communication. First, intercultural communication happens when individuals interact, negotiate, and create meanings while bringing in their varied cultural backgrounds. Next, intercultural communication pertains to communication among people from different nationalities. So from the prefix inter, which means among, and the word cultural, which means culture. So we can say that intercultural means among culture. And since this is something to do with communication, then intercultural communication pertains to the verbal and non-verbal interaction between people from different cultural backgrounds. So, kanang makigstorya ka og mga foreigners like Japanese, Koreans, American, and so on. And take note, intercultural communication is not just about the language you use, because non-verbal communication also plays a vital role, and you will know more about that later on. Alright, so before we proceed to the characteristics of an intercultural communicator, if you are wondering, why do I need to be interculturally competent? Ganaraman ko sa Cebu, ma'am. Ganaraman ko sa Pilipinas. Why? Well, let me tell you this. No one can predict your future. You might be just an ordinary student as of now, but 10 years or 15 years from now, you might be the richest person alive, and that will give you many chances to travel and experience the world. You will meet different people from different countries. You will meet new friends from different countries. And we don't know, maong single ka karon, kay naa sa laing country mo makadayon. The love of your life. Imagine that kind of future. The dream of everybody. I know you also love that kind of future, and I also know that you can achieve that one as long as you work hard. That is why, as early as of now, we have to be, or you have to be, interculturally competent to avoid future misunderstandings with other people from different cultural background. Okay? So I have here a video that will show what will happen to you if you meet people from different countries.
Intercultural awareness may sound more complicated than it actually is. Let's follow Tim and have a look at what it means. If you went backpacking around the world, you would find that people behave in very different ways. Let's take a simple thing like greeting somebody. In different cultures, it can look like this, or even this. Now, the beautiful thing about our international testo community is you get to meet people from all over the world. It also means that you have to team up with them for global success in order to avoid misunderstandings and to work together effectively. That can be tricky because different cultures have different perspectives on things. When it comes to time, for example, or to personal space. Sometimes intercultural communication can be confusing. And even simple things like dining habits may need getting used to. So how do we gain intercultural awareness? By exchanging our different points of view and working on it together as one big community. And these 10 bullet points will help us in intercultural situations. Be open to new encounters and curious for new experiences. Don't be afraid. Be vigilant and observe so you won't make a faux pas. And, of course, respect foreign customs, rituals and culture. Be patient, and in case somebody does not behave how you expect, don't take it personally. Be kind-hearted. Share your own customs and culture with others. And finally, share your intercultural experience with colleagues and friends. That's the way to cultivate intercultural awareness at Testo.
So what you've seen from the video, even the greetings are not the same in those countries. The way they work, they eat, and the way they use the elevator. So if you are in that situation and you don't know how to blend in with their culture, so ma-stress jud ka, ma-homesick jud ka dito. So how can we overcome these problems? What does it take to be interculturally competent? So if you want to know the answers, please do finish this video at the very end because that is what you are going to learn in this video. Are you ready? So if you want to be interculturally competent, these are the characteristics that you must possess. First, flexibility and ability to tolerate high levels of uncertainty. Now, in the context of communication, being flexible is your ability to analyze a situation, make good decisions, and modify your communication when things are not going well. Meaning you try to adapt to your surroundings and you act according to what is appropriate to their culture. Accept it or not, there would be times that we would encounter situations that we wouldn't expect, right? And if we're not flexible enough to blend in with their culture, so that would be another stressful situation for us. Take this video as an example. This is from the movie Mr. Baseball. This is about an American man who is living in Japan for the first time and must have dinner with his Japanese girlfriend's family. And take note, he doesn't know anything about Japanese culture. So let's see how he handled the situation.
It's polite. It's okay. Jack?
What?
Bad luck.
ちゃんとヒロコ教えてあげなさいよ。
あんたの持ち方には好きがあるよ。
What did he say?
O diba, na-stress ang Lucky? So, it could have been better if he knew in advance some Japanese culture para at least di po siya ma-culture shock. Ang nahitabo man gud is wala siya alam if unsa ba na yang gibuhat, sakto or sayop pa na, because he doesn't know any Japanese culture at all. That is why it's really very essential for us that we should really improve our flexibility in dealing unexpected situations like that, especially if we are in a different country, because that's very important to avoid any conflict and misunderstanding with other people. I hope you got my point. Next characteristic we have is reflectiveness and mindfulness. So, for us to be interculturally competent, we should also practice reflectiveness and mindfulness. So, what does it mean? For reflectiveness, after encountering an intercultural situation, just like what happened in the video earlier, so if you were the man in that situation, so you try to reflect what went wrong and what went right with your actions and behaviors in that situation. So, hunahunahon nimo pag-ayo kung asa ka na sakto o asa ka na sayop, para at least dili na ka mauwawan next time, 'di ba? At the end of the video, pagkatong pagtusok sa laki sa chopstick sa kanon, kina-shock silang tanan. Because for Japanese people, that's considered bad luck. And since kahibaw naman siya, do you think he will do it again? Dili na, diba? Kahibaw na gud siya. So that's what you call reflectiveness. You try to reflect whether your actions or behaviors are appropriate or not. And for you to be able to develop your reflectiveness, I have here some questions that you can use. So you can ask yourself questions like the following. First, what behaviors did the other side use that confused me or that I didn't understand? Next, how did the other side perceive my behavior? Next, have I achieved the outcomes I was looking for? What were the reasons for my success or failure? Lastly, in what ways do the other person's behaviors or beliefs different from my own? So you can use these questions to assess your actions or your behaviors in the situation that you were in. Moreover, reflectiveness comes with mindfulness. That means that you have to pay attention to every small detail such as your behavior and the reactions towards it. Kaya basin diag naka-offend na ka without you knowing, because that is very common. For example, in other countries, staring is totally considered as an offensive behavior. So, dili jud ka pwede mo tutok og laing tao. But since you're from the Philippines, niya uso kay mga judgmental diri, motutok pinahead to toe pa, so makakita jud ka gubot dito. Because in other countries, they are really strict when it comes to staring. Because for them, that's already another form of harassment. So you really have to be mindful with your actions, okay? So if you really want other people who come from different cultural backgrounds not to perceive you as rude, you really have to be reflective and be mindful of your actions to avoid future conflicts or any misunderstandings. So I hope that's clear. Next characteristic we have open-mindedness. So this word is already very common. We always hear this word everywhere. So, imposible kaya wala pang makasabot ani na word. Diba? An open-minded person has the willingness to receive and accept ideas and opinions from other people. It's not necessarily that you will agree with them. It's just that you will respect their ideas and opinions about certain things. Remember the saying, agree to disagree. Okay, so open-mindedness in intercultural communication refers to your readiness and preparedness in communicating with people who has a different culture from you. Knowing that our culture varies in different ways, so do not expect for that person to behave like you do. For example, if you have a Korean or a Japanese friend, then you cannot force them to act like a Filipino because we have different upbringings and we also have different traditions and culture. So all we can do is to respect, accept, and be open-minded with our differences and never judge a single person. Okay? So I hope open-mindedness is already clear for you. Next characteristic we have is sensitivity. So from the word sensitive, meaning we should always be cautious with the words that we use and most especially with the nonverbal actions that we do when communicating with people who come from different culture in order to avoid being offensive. Kaya most of the time, manggod, if we're not sensitive enough with their culture, relax ra kay ta makigstorya nila, we might be thinking that, oh, we're having a good communication, we're having a blast. But in their part, the eye is na offend na sila. Kaya para nila, it's so rude or wa sila kaayon sa mong approach or behavior. Same with what I have experienced before when I was still teaching English to Japanese students. To be honest, our culture is totally different from them. I've learned many things, but I will only share this one thing that we normally do here in the Philippines, but is considered very rude in the Japanese culture. Japanese people do not like people pointing fingers at them. Sa Bisaya pa, dili sila ganahan tudloon. 'Di ba normal naman na sa tuwa diri, like, asa man si kuan, na dito ay. Pero for Japanese, it's a big no-no because for them it's considered degrading. And remember the video that I showed to you earlier from the movie Mr. Baseball? Katong nangaon sila noodles and then the culture shock ang laki by the way they eat their noodles. Because in some countries, manggod, even here in the Philippines, eating noisily is considered rude or disrespectful. Pero in Japan, making that kind of sound when eating noodles is a way of telling the owner of the restaurant that you are really enjoying your food. Nga lamig gud ang noodles nga imong gikaon. Pero here in the Philippines, bawal gud siya, di ba? Kay of course, saba gud kaayo and then naiuban dili ganahan kay ludon sad maminaw, di ba? That's why it's really confusing. Kay lahi-lahi man gud every country. That is one of the main reasons why we should really be interculturally aware para at least we can still function effectively in other countries if given a chance nga adto ta mo trabaho or adto ta mo stay sooner or later. Okay? Moreover, if we're also interculturally competent, it will allow us to respect and value other cultures as well. So again, to avoid misunderstanding with people who come from different culture, we always have to be culturally sensitive. Next characteristic we have is adaptability. So for cultural adaptability, this refers to your willingness and ability to change your manner of communicating across countries and cultures. This is actually almost the same with flexibility, wherein you can easily blend into the situation that you are in. And learning to adapt to other cultures is really necessary if you are planning to work abroad in the future or if basin di ag makauyab mo og foreigner like Japanese, Koreans, or American and mag-clash jud ang inyong culture if both of you are not willing to adapt to each other's culture. For example, let's say that the nationality of your boyfriend is Greek. So he's from Greece. And then one time nangutana siya nimo, "Babe, do you love me?" Nya ikaw kay busy man kay nakagibuhat, igura ka ni nod sa imong head. Then nangutana na po siya balik nimo. He said, "Will you leave me?" So again, busy kay nakagibuhat, igura ka ni shake sa imong head as a sign of no here in the Philippines. And then lastly, ningon ni mo uyab, "Okay, fine. We're over." So ikaw, nasya ka, di ba? What went wrong in your conversation? Nganong nagbuwag maninuon mo? Diba in the situation, you were just answering his questions by using non-verbal actions. But the problem is, those non-verbal actions means different to him. Diba? Your boyfriend is from Greece. And in Greece, when you nod your head, that means no. And when you shake your head, that means yes. So meaning to say, bali iyahang meaning ari sa Pilipinas. So if you think of the situation earlier when he said, or when he asked you, do you love him? Yang pasabot di ay is you do not love him. Kaya igor man ka ni nod sa imong head. And nodding is a sign of no in Greece. Okay? So muna, nagbuwag na hinuon mo just because of a simple misunderstanding. So kamo, if nagplano mo nga mag-uyab-uyab mo a farm like Oppa, Japanese or American, make sure that you know how to adapt to their culture. And you can also ask your partner to understand our culture as well para at least mo-work out sa na inyong relationship. Okay? And that's what we called cultural adaptability. You have to adapt to each other's culture. Understood? Next characteristic we have is the ability to engage in different thinking or thinking creatively, and systems level thinking or thinking how each one in a system or organization influences each other. So meaning to say, if you will encounter an intercultural communication, then you have to think outside the box. You have to think creatively in a situation. So it's not necessary nga sundon mo how other people think. Instead, you can think of your own, make your own solutions, make your own approaches, as long as your solutions are beneficial to the organization that you are working with. And remember, each one of you influences each other. So make sure that you're giving a good influence to the people that you are working with. Now let's proceed to the last characteristic, but definitely not the least. We have here politeness. Yes, of course, we should really be polite at all times. Remember that those people who come from different cultural backgrounds are also humans too. So they will really feel sad or offended if you will treat them badly. Same with what happened with George Floyd. Are you familiar with that issue? Black Lives Matter, diba, he was treated badly just because of the color of his skin. The sad thing is, namatay pa gyud siya, diba? Sometimes humanity is too cruel. Some people think that they are above other people just because of their nationality, just because of the color of their skin. And it's really illogical because we are all humans too. And we can do what they can do. So we are just equal. Okay? But they're thinking that they are above other people. Diba, ang ending is nagkagubot na hinuon sila dito. And I know that we don't want to experience that kind of chaos. So, in order to avoid that kind of mess, we should really respect and be polite to all people, regardless of their nationality, regardless of their skin color. Racism should stop. Okay? I hope you got my point. Take note that other elements such as gender, age, social status, and religion must be taken into consideration as well. So I hope that's clear. Now let's proceed to the next topic. Here are the things that you should not do to avoid being biased or to avoid being rude to those people who come from different cultural backgrounds. First, we have stereotypes or avoid stereotyping. So what do you mean by stereotyping? Stereotyping is a kind of prejudice or prejudgment wherein people have a mistaken idea or belief about a thing or a group of people just because of how they look on the outside. So in simple words, stereotyping refers to your prior judgment. It's like naa kay nahibaw-an nga bati nga action or behavior sa usa ka nationality or usa ka country, and then gi-generalize dayon nimo tanan mga tao ana nga place. For example, in China, di ba naara may certain place wherein people eat wild animals. Pero not all people in China do that. Usa lang gyud siya ka place. Pero ang nahitabo karon is gi-generalize sila sa mga tao. People from other countries, even here in the Philippines, think that Chinese people are dirty because they eat wild animals, and because of that, we have COVID-19 pandemic right now. Pero, again, not all people or not all Chinese people do that. Usa lang siya ka-place. Ang nahitabo is, gi-generalize ra sila. And that's what you call stereotyping. Gi-judge nimo ang usa ka tao based on her nationality or based sa sulti sa ubang tao. And it's not a good habit to cultivate. So, we should really not give our judgment if we do not know the person at all. We should avoid stereotyping. Next, do not challenge gender roles. Kani, uso jud kay ni. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you are stronger than the other sex. And just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you can assume that you are weaker compared to the other sex. In our generation right now, dili na nauso ang damsel in distress. We can do whatever we want regardless of our gender. So if you want to lead, then be a leader even if you're a woman. And if you're a man and you want to stay at home to take care of your children, then be it. We should respect each other's decisions, okay? And remember, we should not think that we are above the other gender because men and women are equal in all rights and should deserve the same respect. And take note, we should not put limitations to what we can possibly do just because of our gender. I know that we can do more. So let's ponder on that. Next, do not talk down on younger people and the elderly. This one mistake our culture commit is that people think that you are foolish or stupid just because you're young or bata pa kuno mo. I know that some of you have experienced feeling tanan na lang niyo buhaton kay sayop. Kasaban kas imong mama, kasaban kas imong papa, apilay imong ate, imong kuya. So wala nakakahibaw asa ka mo lugar kay para nila sayop gihapon. I'm not generalizing all parents, but some parents are really controlling your life. They are comparing your life to other people. Like, maingon sila, dapat ing anak ka na ka, dapat parehas ka ni kuan, dapat igdako ni mo ing anak sad ka. So they are like controlling your life without considering what you really love to do with your life. Okay? For me, I really don't agree that just because you're still young, wala nang jud kay alamag sa life. Because I know some young people, I've met many students who really have brilliant ideas. It's just that they are afraid to show it or share it to other people by the fear that the older people will just expect them to fail. And that's the sad part of our reality. We are sometimes surrounded with unsupportive people. Okay? So they are looking down on younger people, thinking that they are just wasting their time. And in your case, I know that you are still young. You commit a lot of mistakes, and I totally understand that. You learn from the mistakes that you commit, and it's part of your growth. Remember, you are still a work in progress. So it's really normal to commit mistakes in life. Okay? And I really hope that you will also do the same. You will not look down on younger people. And same goes with the older people. Daghan gyud kog makita sa Facebook, any social media accounts nga ginabully lang ang ilahang lulo or lula, thinking nga wala na kuno sila gamit. Diba, those older people wants to care of them, giatiman sila, pero maoray lang makuha at the end, which is really sad. Because those older people were once great people during their younger years. Pero, ang nahitabo is, ginabuli ra sila sa mga batanon karon. And, it's really saddening, right? So, let's try our best, class. Let's really practice not to look down on other people, may it be young or old. So let us really make a difference in this world. Okay? Next, we have be sensitive to religious practices of others. We have so many religions in the world. And with that, our way of worshiping really varies. So, bahalag unsa pa na imong religion, as long as you respect other religions as well, so okay ra gyud na siya. Okay, so we have to relearn that in our society. We have to respect other religious practices. Okay, now let's proceed to the last. Last na gid ni siya class. Okay, gamay na lang yung kuwang. We have be polite at all times. Do not belittle people you perceive to be on a lower rank. So balik-balik na good ni siya, no? What I can say na good is you have to respect the janitor or the janitress the same way you respect the CEO of that organization. Whatever their status in life is, they are both humans and they deserve to have the same respect. Okay, so if you have some questions about this topic, so feel free to ask them tomorrow during our virtual session. Okay, so I hope you've learned something from this video, and I really hope that you will apply all those learnings in your life right now. Okay, so before I end this video, let me share to you this quote for you to ponder on. One of the most effective ways to learn about yourself is by taking seriously the cultures of others. It forces you to pay attention to those details of life which differentiate them from you. And that is according by Edward T. Hall. Okay, so I hope you really learned something from this video class. I'll be seeing you next meeting.